I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and for the most part, my childhood was normal, and I enjoyed hanging out in the neighborhood with my friends and meeting other people along the way, and different people, maybe boys, guys from other neighborhoods nearby. And as we grew up, things started changing, and I started noticing some of the people that I found myself closest to being either impacted by incarceration or physically incarcerated. That was strange to me. I didn't understand why would anyone want to go to prison. But for some people, it was just a place that they ended up going, and it was a part of their story and a part of their life. And it didn't seem to make a difference in their families or to them. And when they got out, many times they would just return to the community or to the neighborhood just the same way that they left it. As an adult, I kind of look at situations like that and think to myself, why would a person want to go to prison? And before I was impacted by the carceral system, by being a family member of someone incarcerated, I just didn't understand what I didn't know. And so that kind of started me on a path and a journey to understand how people put themselves in these circumstances. Why would anyone want to be in prison? And then I realized that prison is actually a byproduct of poor white, poor black, and poor brown people. And as we do the history, I've learned how prisons have been used and utilized to further the empowerment of our country. And so now I find myself in spaces speaking as a justice consultant, a reentry specialist, the founder and executive director of South Carolina for Restorative Justice, and the CEO of Qualitative Aspects. And I work specifically with those who have been incarcerated. And I work specifically with those who have been impacted by incarceration to show them a new way, teach them that there is life after incarceration, work with their families to develop generational change and create new ways in which we see and do family. One of my greatest life's setbacks, I would say, is just overcoming and surviving a violent sexual assault. Realizing that in life, sometimes things happen to you and you can't process those things when they happen. You can't make sense of them, and you can't explain it to anyone else in a way that makes sense to them or to you, or that it might even be helpful for anyone to know or understand. And so sometimes you find families who live with long-standing secrets because it just doesn't really help. And while it's not always important to share your story while you're in the midst of a storm, it is important that you share your story once you've had a chance to process what's happened. Because there may be someone else who has experienced something similar to you and needs to hear how you persevered through that trial. And in a lot of cases, it was a challenge for me because sometimes things happen to you and you don't even register them mentally until you get later on in life. And then you're stuck trying to figure out who, how, or where do I go next? And so having that as my toughest life challenge, coupled with my mother also being completely disabled and blind at the age of 12, I was stuck trying to figure out a lot of things for myself, trying to understand the best ways to navigate life, and making sure that I was connecting with the right people, and that didn't always happen. And so as I found myself trying to become a prosperous adult, an upstanding citizen, as they say, the challenges that I faced was because I didn't have any real life examples of what that should look like. So it took me a while, but I eventually found myself connecting to the right people, building the right relationships, and developing an understanding that puts me in a position to be a humanizer and understand that people go through things, they grow through things, and sometimes those things are the things that help to get them to their life's purpose. One of the most rewarding lessons that I've learned, and I won't say that it felt rewarding at the beginning, but I will say that as I grew into who I am today, it helped me to better understand. And I'll say that making sure that you surround yourself with the right people, being consistent. Sometimes it feels like things might take you 10 years, but if you look back over a period of time, if you had just consistently applied that pressure for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so forth, it will be amazing, or you will be amazed by the things that you will have accomplished in that little bit of time, which initially, when you set out to do those things and it felt monstrous and it felt like it was too much or too big, it seemed impossible. But when you continue to chip away at things a little bit at a time, then gradually over time, it's like boom. And then it's like instant success, but it really hasn't been instant. It's something that you've conditioned yourself to work towards. You spend a lot of time working on. You've been consistent with it every day. And it feels good to know that you're doing something that you feel purposeful in. So that's, for me, something that was a big challenge, but at the end, it was a really big reward. If I can go back and talk to my 21-year-old self, I would say, girl, stay focused on yourself. Stay focused on your dreams, on your visions, on the things that you feel passionately about. Don't let anyone get in the way of that. I let a lot of people talk me out of things that I could have already accomplished because they couldn't see the dream that was inside of me. And sometimes a lot of us will stop doing what we want to do because we don't see anyone else doing it. So that's also something that's super important, to make sure that you keep her connected to people that are walking in a way that you want and admire at the same time. You can't you can't become something that you don't see. And so it's really important to stay consistent and always have goals that you're working on. And also make sure that you are loving yourself, because people treat you the way that you treat yourself, and you can attract the love that you give to yourself by other people. And that way you won't find yourself in a lifetime of circling, looking for someone else to show you what love is, because you will have already shown yourself. I recognize that today we face challenges like none other. And so what's next for me? I'm all about rebuilding and breaking the generational curses that have been placed upon so many generations of families throughout the United States of America. So I focus specifically on building the brand of South Carolina for restorative justice, working with people who have been impacted by the carceral system, whether that is family members of incarcerated loved ones, people who have been in prison specifically, making sure that they return home and have a successful walk back into the world after being gone for so many years, understanding that it takes a village for both children and adults. So we have a plethora of programs that we have ready to deploy and create real generational change over the next 3 to 5 years, so that we can say that we left an impact in this world and walked a life of purpose. So my goal is to continue to build South Carolina for restorative justice, continue to get people who have returned home from incarceration, employed through various contracting opportunities, and continue to build with our youth and our family members. Because I know, as the loved one of someone who has been incarcerated 26 years, it's hard. It's hard when someone is returning home and they don't even have the comfort of knowing what it feels like to open a refrigerator door. There are many people who sit behind the wall that have been some of the best people I have ever met. But the world treats them as though they're the lowest, the darkest, and the scum. And so I'm here to change that mindset. So I'm ready to work with legislators, community builders all across the country, consulting in the justice forum, so that people understand from a person with lived experience what it means and what incarceration looks like and what factors lead to different people's incarceration, and that we can all be together in this country and in this world as long as we can accept everyone as a human being with a real heartbeat. I think people really choose to work with us for a lot of different reasons. The number one reason, though, is that people can feel the heart and compassion that we have for the work, for the people that we assist and help, for the lives that we change. And people are tired of getting taken advantage of. So it's easy to fund an organization, to fund a company, to fund a person that you know has a passion and a purpose to be in this work. You know, it's time out for lukewarm reforms and changes. People really want to see people doing good things because humanity matters. And the only way for us to change the trajectory of anyone's life is by being purposeful in the actions that we take each day. And I've been so blessed to be a part of this journey, because you could have never told me that I was going to be showing up every day, talking to people about prisons and talking to people about families and talking about reunifications and restorative justice. And the reason why all people belong to a community and they should be welcomed back into community, even once they've committed or done wrong. So the reason why people work with us is because we're purposeful. We have roots in the efforts that we take on. And they know that if we don't know the answer, we're going to get the answer to make sure that the things that we are seeking to resolve or issues that we're looking to, change, we'll have effective measures with real data that is not just kind of skewed and from places that we're unsure of. And that's a lot of the reasons why people trust us. That's a lot of the reason why people trust us, why they trust us with their business, they trust us with their families, and they trust us with their resources, because they know we'll be a good steward of them. And that's the most important thing, good people doing good work. Like John Lewis always says, I'm always up to good trouble. Working with Shay Brown has been so much fun. I mean, he is a ball of laughs, for one, but he wants to make sure that you get it right. And that's the most important part for me. Walking into a space, unsure about how it works, what I should do, why having a body of work is so important. And Shay is here to walk you through all of that. He has personally mentored me, shown me the examples of the work that has been done for other people, and just created an avenue for me to share my story with you, share my purpose and my passion. And there's nothing like it. For me, every business owner looking to pursue or develop and create a strong body of work absolutely needs to work with Shay Brown.